So today we're going to be reviewing Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. It's pretty much the next Souls-like experience, and I actually think we're getting to the point where it's unfair to these developers like Team Ninja to constantly refer their games to From Software's type of genre that, with all fairness, they did kind of spawn this genre. Now, look, am I saying they made it from scratch or anything like that? No, but I would say it's fair to say that From Software took this type of gameplay and they made it mainstream. First off, I want to thank Koei Tecmo and Xbox for providing us with this review code for the purposes of reviewing the game. They've been very good to us. They make sure we get that content to you guys, because that's all that matters, man, to help find games that might vibe with you. And without any further ado, here is my review on Wo Long Fallen Dynasty for the Xbox Series X. Let's get it. What's going on, you guys? Lord Addict here, coming at you with another Lord's review. Today we're going to be reviewing Wo Long Fallen Dynasty for the Xbox Series X. Published by Koei Tecmo and developed by Team Ninja. You guys know the Nioh franchise. That's the developers that made this game. First off, clearly this is a From Software type of game. That genre that they kind of spun into their own little thing. Now, obviously they didn't originate this genre, but I would say they mainstreamed this genre. Now, let's go ahead and give context behind me and type of Souls-like games in general. For those of you that's been on this channel for a while, you know that I am a huge fan of From Software types of games. That Souls-like experience. I like the Elden Rings, the Dark Souls, the Demon Souls. I like the Bloodborns. I actually really like Nioh. And so when I saw Wo Long Dynasty show up, I was like, this is something that I would definitely try out. Like I said, shout out to them for sending me the review code. And we really broke down this game. First thing I really want to talk about is the story of Wo Long Dynasty. Now, there's been a lot of inspirations on a lot of different lores and backgrounds. This was mainly sticking around Chinese lore. The Dynasty Warrior games, I'm sure a lot of you really messed with those games when you was younger. You're gonna notice a lot of those characters are in this game. So that's one thing that automatically out the gate when it comes to the story of Wo Long that jumped out at me is I have seen the characters in this game in other forms of media, and I've seen them in other games. And I feel like when you gravitate towards especially something as popular as Dynasty Wars that still has a franchise to this day, let's be real, that game is still going on. And the good thing that Team Ninja has done here is they've took that success that they have made in the past with something like Dynasty Warriors. They took those characters and they put them in a new format where people that play those games will see these characters and they'll be drawn to them, and it's a different type of gameplay, and you can actually get those people and you can get the Souls-like fans as well. And I really hats off to them when it comes to stuff like that. Pretty much when it comes to the story of this game, it's nothing extremely special, but it is enough to keep you interested in the story to a point. Pretty much what's going on is there's these things called the elixirs that's going on in the world, and pretty much if people drink these elixirs, stuff really bad happens, and they're trying to find the actual source behind who is doing these elixirs, who is distributing them. That is the gist of the story. Now, obviously, that is a very Cliff Note version of it. I don't want to really ruin anything. I don't really want to name any characters, but there's a lot that goes into this. I will say it's engaging enough to want you to know what's going to happen next and want you to see certain characters again, but I wouldn't really say that the narrative was explained in a very good way. A good comparison I would give you is something like Sekiro, Shadow Dies Twice. Now, I thought that narrative was actually told a little bit better in this game, but I don't think that it was a huge difference. I think if you like the story in Sekiro, and I like the story in Sekiro, I think you would get an engaging story in this. It is good for the time that we're in now, but it's nothing not like a Last of Us or God of War. Clearly this game was revolved around the gameplay mechanics, and I'm not saying that they shoehorned the story in there by any means, but I do know that they're like, we're going to give you an engaging story, but we really want to build on these foundations of the gameplay to make you really enjoy playing the story. And I think that is what Team Ninja was going for here, and I think they did a pretty decent job at it. Now let's talk about the art of this game, the art style, and the performance overall in general. Now, I felt like the art style in this game was good. There's a lot of dark moments. It's a very dark, grimy looking game. I felt like the elements was done very well. There's a lot of elements attacks here. The special effects was done well. The animations was done well. It's a very good looking game. Now, like I said, it's nothing eye candy, but I do think when you look at this game, you're like, yo, I really like the overall aesthetics of the game. It's very pleasing. You know, there's a lot of different variety of fields in here. There's snow. There's a lot of fire maps on here. I felt like the bosses were done well. The art style was done well. You know, just overall the aesthetics of Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, and I have to give my hats off to them because I feel like with these games, it's either one or the other. You know, you get good animations, but bad boss design. Good artwork, but bad direction in where they go with the art. And I think this one, it's a solid experience of everything, and it's good choices, man. Good choices. Team Ninja, you're turning out to be up there with From Software. I'm not gonna go out there and say you want From Software levels yet, but you know, I think you're getting closer and closer to that divine source of From Software. Now let's talk about the performance. This is the first time where I'm really going to talk down on this game. I did play this on the Xbox Series X, and I did have a lot of issues when it comes to stuttering. There was a couple times at the end of the game where the game just full-blown crashed. It was multiple times. Now, I will say that it didn't bother me much, and I want to go out right now and say that, you know, before you pick this game up, go look and see about some patch notes, see if they fix stuttering, see if they fix some of the crashes that's happening in the game. Now, it's not going to happen to everybody. I did feel like it mainly happened when a lot of things was going on the field, when there's a lot of fire elements going on, there's some poison, some ice, there's a lot of sword clashing going on. I don't know if the reasons that these are happening, but I wanted you guys to be very transparent on that. Is there is some performance issues with this game. I've been seeing on Twitter there's issues with, you know, frame rates on PC in general, but what I want to say is in terms of the Xbox Series X, for the most part, I would say about 85-90% of the time the game runs very well, but then there will be just random pauses for no reason, like straight up pausing the game, and you have to wait to either the game crashes or it resumes playing, and that was annoying to a point. Now, it's like I said, it wasn't to the point where I just dropped it, because I have dropped games in the past that just did not run well, but it was enough to where I want to let you guys know that I did have performance issues with the Xbox Series X for that matter. Now let's talk about something that you guys know I flourish when it comes to these style games, these Souls-like games, and that is just the gameplay overall. I felt like the gameplay to this compared to their previous work, something like Nioh, is on a completely different level. Look, I like Nioh, but I did feel like it was too floaty. Now, this game isn't as floaty, but I feel like it's a better mixture than it was with Nioh. One thing I want to bring up about Team Ninja games is please stop with a complete abundance of weapons. You have no idea how, what's what I'm looking for, how overwhelmed I am when I'm looking through the menus and the weapons and the armor and the accessories, and there's literally 2 to 3 to 4 to even sometimes 5 to 10 seconds of scrolling down when it comes to equipment, when it comes to weapons, and when it comes to just overall accessories. I'm like, look, I get it. I understand they want to give you options. They want to make you feel like you have the ability to play this game however you want, and to a point I respect that. But when you look at games like Bloodborne, you look at a lot of the From Software games, Elden Ring, even though that there's more options in some of these games to others, they never overwhelm you with this much gear. Sometimes I'm looking at this stuff and I understand that I can make amazing builds, but when I look at the insane amount of equipment, it just makes me not want to even, you know, test around, try it. You know, at least they give you in the blacksmith opportunity, they let you take certain of the perks out and maybe put them in with other things. But you know what's funny is the fact that I didn't even really mess with this stuff, because I was just always overwhelmed every time I looked at it. I'm sitting there scrolling down. You know, they do give you some options into what you can do with it. They let you make money. They let you give items. You can upgrade all the stuff you have in the game. And the good thing is they give you a transmog system with anything in the game. So if you want your character to look like a certain other part of gear that you have, but you don't want the stats that come with it or the aesthetics that come with it, they give you the option to change it. And I like that. I think every game needs to do that, because especially with these games that involve, you know, all this ancient armor, this heavy armor, this type of samurai armor, because a lot of these games, when you look at it, it's about aesthetics, about how you want your character to look, and there's nothing more irritating and frustrating to see a style that you really vibe with and you want to look like, but the stats are garbage. But you see this other armor that you hate the way it looks, but the stats are way better, and the game pretty much forces you to look the way you don't want to look because of stats. And what I will say to Team Ninja is bravo for giving the players and the gamers the option to pretty much look however you want to look. Now, I didn't know to the extent can you look like this. I didn't know if you can take smaller armor and, you know, transmog it to bigger armor. I'm assuming they want you to stay in the same weight loss. So pretty much there's 3 weights in this game. There's 1 bar, 2 bar, and 3 bars. Depending on what your stats are and how much you can, you know, have equipment, I'm assuming that you can change out any 1 star or 1 bar equipment to look like any other 1 bar equipment. It looked like the ones that you can transform is something that you find on the field, or maybe it was the characters you have. Like I said, I didn't really mess around with the transmog system too much. I found what looked good to me, and that's pretty much where I kept it on. But I want you guys to know that there is options if you want to look like different types of armor that you may or may not have. Another kudos thing that I have to give to Team Ninja is how they did the boss design in this system. Now, all of them was definitely some rinse and repeat. You know, some of them felt a little bit identical to others. Now, I wouldn't say that they never actually took something that you fought in the past and made it a boss in the present. Now, they did do that on certain challenges, but it wasn't like one of the main bosses. What I will say is towards the beginning of the game, some of the things you fight are turned into regular enemies, and you see that practice pretty much done in any gaming, so I don't want to really, you know, punish them for that. I feel like that is a standard practice, and I think a lot of people accept that kind of stuff because it's kind of like tutorial bosses, where these are just bigger mini bosses at the end of the day. And there's a lot of them. I do feel like they do repeat those particular bosses. Once they're made into regular ads, you will see them a lot. They don't have the traditional boss meter, but they have a good sizable amount of health that you have to go through, and you do fight them quite a bit. One thing I will say when it comes to the bosses is there's a particular boss in this game that for the first time in a long time fighting these type of bosses in any of these Souls-like games, I was generally might have gave up. Now, I still went ahead, you know, I buckered down, I hit a wall, and I was like, there's no other way I can do to come into this fight as a better opportunity to beat this individual. I'ma just have to hunker down and be good. I'm gonna have to make sure I get all my parries. I'm gonna have to make sure I land all of my attacks, all of my counterattacks. I'm gonna have to dodge correctly. And those are the type of fights that I really enjoy. Now, there was 1 or 2 of these in the game, and I think that the one in particular I'm talking about was that one that I really enjoyed because I felt like it was a good fight. You know, guys, you know what I'm talking about. You know those fights that you feel frustrated, not in a good way. This particular fight, now I'm not going to say it, I'm sure people in the comment section will know who I'm talking about. It was a good fight in a less frustrating way. Sure, I was frustrated, I kept dying, but I knew it wasn't them. I knew it wasn't the game working against me. It was me having to get better to fight that enemy in a better way. And I think a lot of bosses in a lot of these type of games is more one way than the other. It's more the latter. But I will say there's a couple good fights in here. Those one-on-one fights that everyone really enjoys that is in this game. And I think you guys will really like the boss fight mechanics and the boss fights in general in Wo Long Dynasty. Now, Wo Long definitely has its issues. The issues that I had in this game was a couple different factors. Let's go over some of these issues. You know, let's let everyone grab a chair, sit around at it. Let's talk about it. Like I said, the biggest issue is the too many weapons. We don't really need to go into that too much because we already went into that. I don't like the stealth system in here. Now, there is a stealth system, but it's not that good. It's pretty much, you know, depending on how you get the water attribute up, which, you know, pretty much the way you level up is there's 5 tiles, you know, earth, water. I'm not going to go into all of it. You guys know how the system works when you level up stuff up. And when you level these things up, it levels multiple of those attributes up with it. Well, when you level the water attribute up, you level up your overall stealth mechanics in the game. So pretty much the higher that is, the better you're going to be at stealthing. And I didn't like that system. Now, I don't mind leveling up an attribute to have a better stealth mechanic, but the problem with Wo Long in terms of stealth is there's no crouch button. There's no hunker down button. So it's pretty much you have to walk as slow as you can without letting them turn around. Because keep in mind, a lot of the stealth mechanics in this game is going to be dealing with a walking enemy. Enemies that are going in a line or patrolling a certain area. And there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to walk at a certain speed because you don't want to show who they are. You don't want them hearing you. And when you get close to them, you might have to actually go a little bit faster than you would have normally liked. I like when you have an actual stealth button in the game. Look at Sekiro when you can actually crouch. I like being able to hit that button and going the exact fastest speed I can go without being seen. And I don't know why Wo Long does not have this system. It's very frustrating how many times in this game I came up right on someone right when I'm about to do a stealth attack, because it pretty much signals like there's a red line or a red circle on their back. And right when I'm about to press it, they turn around, or I go a little bit more fast than I should have went, and they see, sure, maybe that's, I need to learn it better, but I don't think that's what it is. Put a stealth system in the game. If you're going to put mechanics leading towards a stealth system, you got to have a button dedicated to stealth. And I don't like the fact that Wo Long Dynasty did not have one. It was by far the most infuriating thing about this game. Another thing I didn't like is the fortified morality system in the game. So let's talk about what a morality system is in Wo Long Dynasty. When you defeat an enemy, you get a percentage onto a bar that goes up from 1 to 25. And pretty much what that is the difference between you and your opponent, if it's up to 5 or lower than 5. So let's say I'm a morality system of 20 and my enemy is 15 or maybe 25. I don't think there's any enemies that is 25. There is a significant advantage to the person with the higher morality system. Now, what a fortified system is there's these flags that are around that are through the map, and at first I thought they were like a fast travel system, but not really. Now, when you put them down, you get a certain point onto your fortified system, and when you die, your morality comes back to what your fortified system is. So let's say you die at 25 and you put a certain amount of flags down where your fortified system number is, let's say 15. You'll come back as a level 15 in morality because your fortified number was 15. Now, I'm not going to say this was like a horrible system. I just feel like that with the leveling system, with the weapon system, I just feel like it was too much. I feel like you didn't need all this. Now, I think as far as like casualizing the franchise without really hurting the hardcore aspect, this actually works out a little bit better because you'll actually not be attacked so much from just basic enemies. Because when you're fortified, let's say you're 15 and fortified, when you come back, you keep coming back as a 15 to 20, because 20 is the max that you can get from fortified. And if you keep killing enemies, you'll get that extra 5 for a total of 25 morality. And most bosses are 20, you know, in game bosses, they're about 20. So you come in there doing more damage already. So that's a mechanic that you can use to your advantage to actually do damage to it. Now, I'm not going to say it was a bad thing. I'm a little in the middle. You know, at the beginning, I didn't like it. But after playing the game enough and realizing the system enough, I realized that this is something that can help people not rage as much because they're not getting one shot by regular ads because they have a high fortified system if they're at the end of that level and they can go back and grind. But at the same time, when you're coming into it and you have to deal with all of these systems, it gets very overloading and very frustrating, to say the least. Now, Wo Long Dynasty is definitely one of those games that I would recommend to you guys. I really enjoyed this game. The boss system was good. The level up system was good. I feel like there's some things they could have did a little bit differently. Like, you know, like I said, the weapon system, you know, maybe the fortifying morality system could have went to a degree. I'm not going to really argue with them too much on that. I think that is definitely good for some people, not good for others. And I feel like the sound design's amazing. The art style's good. This is just a solid game. Now, you can make the argument that a game like this, maybe if they really go above and beyond with a sequel or take the foundation of this game and really build on it, they can potentially make games that are on the level of From Software with the Dark Souls, the Elden Ring. I don't think they're there yet, but I do think that one could argue that Team Ninja is probably the only company that's even making games even close to what From Software makes in this type of Souls genre, what people call it. That's why I recommend it. I think this is easily worth the money that goes into. Keep in mind it's in Game Pass, so you can always go, and if you subscribe to Game Pass, just go download it, try it out. I don't think this is a good entry for new Souls type games. Now, obviously, the fortified morality system can make it a little bit easier to jump in on. I think there is some aspects of this that if you don't like it and you like games like Dynasty Warriors, maybe this is a little bit open to you. There's a lot of good characters that if you played those games that you'll really enjoy here. But as far as that, typically the only people going to really love this game is Souls-like people. I do hope they fix those performance issues. Like I said, definitely go check the patch notes and make sure that these were fixed before you go out and invest into something like this. And until next time, this is Lord Addict, and this was my review on Wo Long Dynasty for the Xbox Series X. And if you guys enjoyed this review, definitely hit that subscribe button. You can actually like the video. That really helps the channel. We do a podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. known as the Iron Lords Podcast. I'm a panelist member on there. It's the channel that you're currently watching this review on. And like I said, I hope you guys have a good day. And until the next review, this is Lord Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.